What if you could win your next chess game in only a few moves? Seriously. Imagine the look on your opponent's face when their position just completely crumbles, right out of the opening. This isn't some fantasy. It's about being awake to the tactical possibilities from move 1. In chess, a quiet little move can hide a killer threat. A pawn sacrifice might not be a mistake, but the start of a brilliant, game-ending attack. In this video, I'm going to arm you with 4 of the most devastating opening traps in the game. 2 for white, and 2 for black. And these aren't just cheap tricks. They're based on solid ideas that punish the most common, natural-looking moves your opponents will make. They are easy to learn, brutally effective, and they'll make you look like a tactical genius. So, get ready to transform your opening play. Let's jump in and welcome to Chessblitz. First up, one of the most elegant openings in chess history, the Queen's Gambit. It's brilliant because it starts from a position that looks totally normal, lulling your opponent into a false sense of security, before you pull the rug right out from under them. The game begins with d4, staking our claim in the center. Black almost always replies with d5, matching our control. Now we play c4. This is the Queen's Gambit. We're offering a wing pawn to tempt Black's central pawn away. But here's the key. It's not about grabbing a pawn. It's about seizing control of the heart of the board. One of the most common replies is d takes c4. The Queen's Gambit accepted. They take the bait. We don't rush to win the pawn back. Instead, we develop our pieces. Knight f3, putting the knight on its best square. Black will often mirror us with knight f6. We continue with e3, preparing to recover the pawn with our bishop. If Black tries to hold on with b5, we strike with a4. They can't trade pawns, because after a takes b5, we take with check, regaining the pawn and keeping a strong center plus faster development. Let's rewind. What if instead they defend with c6? We simply trade. Develop our knight with tempo, and while Black struggles to protect that pawn, we already have better central control and a lead in development. By the way, a6 doesn't work either, because that pawn is pinned to the rook. And if Black skips knight f6 on move 3, push for e3 or even e4, recover the pawn, and keep your initiative rolling. Here's an example. By breaking open the center at just the right moment, you can use your faster development to launch a crushing attack, and turn the Queen's Gambit into a winning masterpiece. Our second opening for white is the vicious Ponziani Opening. A lot of your opponents won't even know this one, which instantly gives you a psychological edge. It's a perfectly sound opening that packs some serious punch. It starts with e for e5, knight f3, knight c6, the most common opening sequence in chess. But instead of going for the Italian or the Rai Lopez, we surprise them with c3. This is the Ponziani. The idea is simple. We're building a launch pad for d4, aiming to dominate the center with our pawns. The most common and active reply from Black is knight f6, attacking our e4 pawn. But we don't defend it directly. We stick to the plan with d4. Now, what does Black do? The most tempting move, and the one that springs our trap, is knight takes e4. Black thinks they've called our bluff, grabbing a central pawn and feeling like they're ahead. But this pawn is poisoned. Their greed has led them straight into trouble. We hit them with the killer move, d5. This pawn thrust is a monster, attacking the knight on c6. It has to move. The most common retreat is knight e7, but already, their pieces are awkwardly placed. Now comes the star move, the one that wins games on the spot, bishop b4 check. This check is brutal. There's no pawn that can block it without collapsing. For example, c6, then d takes c6, b takes c6, knight takes c6, knight takes c6, and bishop takes c6 check. A triple fork that destroys their position. But let's say Black tries to be fancy, and plays queen b6 instead. It looks deadly because they're threatening mate, but here comes the magic. C takes b7 with a discovered check. If they take your bishop, you promote to a queen and win instantly. If they instead play king d8, you have an absolutely brilliant combo, knight f7 check, forcing king c7. Then b takes a8 with a knight promotion and check. Yes, an under promotion to a knight, with a fork on the king and queen. Okay, let's rewind a bit. What if Black takes your other pawn instead? You can play it safe with e5 and simply recapture, but you can also go full gambit mode with bishop c4. If they chase your bishop with a knight move, just slide it to b3. Even if you're down a pawn, you're miles ahead in development and ready for a deadly attack. Sometimes, opponents play the inaccuracy bishop c5 instead. In that case, we stick to our plan, d4. They can either trade down into a dominating position for you, or retreat, letting you push their knight back and win a pawn. The best defensive try for black is d5. Here, we go for queen of4, putting pressure on the knight. From this point, the goal is to keep hammering c6 with moves like bishop b5, and if they don't deal with the pin, you can often just grab the e5 pawn with your knight, and keep the pressure rolling. Alright, let's flip the board. What if you're black, and your opponent starts with d4? Most players expect a slow, positional game. We're going to throw that idea straight into the trash with the Englund Gambit, a shock weapon built for one thing: fast, brutal wins. We strike instantly with e5. Yes, a pawn sacrifice on move 1. It's risky, Stockfish will scream at you, but in Blitz and Bullet it's absolute chaos fuel. And hey, I'll show you white's best line at the end. Trust me, nobody will actually find it over the board. Sometimes, you'll even face a London premover, and just win their bishop on move 2. But most of the time, white grabs the pawn with d takes e5. Free pawn, why not, they think. We develop with knight c6, hitting that pawn. The natural defense is knight f3. We add more pressure, queen e7. White's thinking, no problem, I'll defend again, and plays bishop f4. And here the trap is set. We fire queen b4 check, a triple threat, check, attack on b2, and attack on the bishop. At the beginner level, you will often see the move pawn, or knight to c3, and you can win their bishop. The best try is bishop d2, shielding the king. We don't care about their bishop. We snatch the pawn with queen takes b2, attacking the rook on a1. Now white starts sweating. They see the rook in danger and try the move bishop c3, which defends the rook and attacks our queen. Looks perfect, but it's their doom. We slam down bishop b4, pinning their bishop to the king. White is completely stuck. If they try queen d2, we play bishop takes c3, and after queen takes c3, boom, qc1, checkmate in 8 moves. Their pieces never even got out of bed. If instead they trade bishops earlier, we recapture with the knight, still threatening their rook and a fork on king and rook. Their position collapses. Now, the best move for white instead of bishop c3 is knight c3. Then we go bishop b4, they play rook b1, we slide the queen to a 3, and if they go knight d5, hitting our bishop and threatening a fork, we retreat with bishop a5. Even then, if they find rook b5, we trade bishops, guard c7 with the king, and play on. But honestly, if your opponent finds all these engine moves in a bullet game, maybe check their accuracy stats, and consider hitting the report button. And now, are you ready for the last opening? Our final trap is an aggressive weapon for black, this time against the most popular opening of all, the Italian game. If you play e5 against e4, you'll see the Italian game all the time. But today, we're not going for a slow positional battle. Instead, we're bringing out our secret weapon, the Rousseau Gambit, turning a calm opening into a full-on tactical brawl your opponent won't be ready for. The game starts, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, the classic Italian. White's bishop is already eyeing our weak f7 square. Normally, black plays it cool with bishop c5 or knight f6. But we're not playing it cool. We hit them with the shocking move, f5. This is the Rousseau Gambit. Yes, it's bold. Yes, it opens our own king. But that's the point. We're inviting chaos on our terms. Most opponents react by accepting with e takes f5, but that's actually a mistake. We push e4, attacking the knight. It looks trapped, but it can actually jump to d4, even though most of your opponents won't see it. Write in the comments, what's the big threat of knight d4? If the knight retreats all the way to g1, we strike with d5, attacking the bishop, hitting the center. Discovered attack on the pawn and suddenly we dominate the board. What if white tries to get clever and pins our pawn with the queen? Simple. Unpin with our own queen. Now their knight really has to move, develop knight f6, and keep the attack rolling. There's even a nasty trap here, where you can win the queen. Check out my Rousseau Gambit short linked in the description. So, can white decline the gambit? If they try d3, just play d6, defend your f-pawn, develop naturally, and use your advanced kingside pawns for a strong attack. The most challenging reply for us is d4. In that case, f takes e4. White's best is knight takes e5. But then d5 hits the bishop. It must move, and now we have open lines everywhere. Yes, white has a strong knight on e5, but we have the initiative, and that's all that matters in a gambit. And there you have it, 4 deadly openings to add to your toolkit: the Queen's Gambit, the Ponziani, the Englund, and the Rousseau Gambit. It's not just about memorizing moves, but understanding the ideas, control the center, develop fast, and punish an unsafe king. Try them in your games, and you'll catch opponents off guard. Like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments which is your favorite. See you next time.